For today's cup of coffee, we've had camera weirdness, so hopefully everything will work. Mercury's not in retrograde, but I swear it has felt like it's been in retrograde for months. So
Sort of.
It's just mechanical stuff, communication stuff, travel stuff, all of it sort of screwed up totally.
Yeah.
And yeah. For today's cup, we do have an interesting story. This is from History.com, Dave Roos, and it was updated on January the 15th of 2020. The original story was September 6th of 2018. And this is when UFOs buzzed the White House and the Air Force blamed the weather. That's typical. So,
of course they did. Because that's what they always do.
Yeah. Yeah, because...
Just admit that there is aliens. Just admit y'all were wrong just once.
It's because half of them are the aliens.
No, half of them are the assholes. Most of them are the assholes.
Maybe that's what it is. We've been invaded by just a planet of sphincters.
Dickheads.
Sphincters.
Yeah.
So... And Mr.
Because nothing but shit comes out their mouths.
Really. Well, and shit's apparently coming other places, and then they be blaming the dog.
It's coming out of their nose. It's coming out of their ears. They're so full of shit. The toilet's jealous.
Blaming the dog. Anyhow.
They're so full of shit. The toilet's jealous.
In 1952, that was the year that America caught flying saucer fever. And so when a rash of strange sightings was reported in the skies over Washington, D.C. that summer, the press and the public demanded answers. And in some cases, crafts outran jets. So that's pretty impressive there.
Yeah.
And it says
in some cases, that's all cases.
Yeah. In Washington, the Washington, D.C. sightings of July 1952 hold a special place in the history of UFOs. Major American newspapers were reporting multiple credible sightings by civilian and military radar operators and pilots, so many that a special intelligence unit of the U.S. Air Force was sent in to investigate. What they found or didn't find, along with the Air Force's official explanation, fueled some of the earliest conspiracy theories about a government plot to hide evidence of alien life. I think it's probably been going on since the 40s. Yeah, I think it's been going on much longer than that. In 1947, a search and rescue pilot named Keith Arnold reported 9 saucer-like things flying like geese in a directional chain-like line at speeds exceeding 1,000 miles per hour near Mount Rainier in Washington State. Within weeks, flying saucer sightings have been reported in 40 other states. In the name of national security, Air Force General Nathan Twining launched Project Sign, originally named Project Saucer, in 1948, and this was the first military intelligence program to collect information on UFO sightings. Its investigators dismissed the vast majority as hoaxes or misidentifications of known aircraft or natural phenomena. Now, that's the first one that was reported to be there.
Yeah.
And it says a few cases remained unexplained. Yeah.
Right. They know exactly what it was.
Sure they do. By 1952, the UFO investigation unit was called Project Blue Book, led by Captain Edward Ruppelt. I think I'm saying that right. It's Ruppelt, Ruppelt, at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. Ruppelt, whatever, and his team would probably have continued to investigate a couple dozen sightings a month if not for the April 1952 issue of Life magazine. Just above its cover shot of Marilyn Monroe read the headline, "There is a case for interplanetary saucers." Because, yes, let's get the media involved.
Totally.
In the article written by Ruppelt's full cooperation and explained the Air Force's national security interest in UFOs, and that made a convincing case through the retelling of 10 unexplained incidents. One rocket scientist working on secret projects for the U.S. told Life, quote, "I am completely convinced that they have an out-of-world basis," end quote. So,
y'all, it's not unexplained. Y'all know exactly what the fuck it is and what y'all are doing.
Sure.
Y'all kept shit from us for years and still do.
Oh, yeah.
We know your scheme, bitch.
According to the Washington Post, the number of UFO sightings reported to the Air Force jumped more than six-fold from March 23rd, 1952 to June, from 23 in March 1952 to 148 by June. Because everybody got to jump on the bandwagon. Mm-hmm. As it's like I saw Bigfoot sitting on the top of my trailer.
A Bigfoot was throwing rocks at me. But they do.
That's true. They do. By July, conditions were in place for UFO mania. Widespread Cold War anxiety, mainstream press coverage of unidentified aircraft, and a healthy dose of midsummer madness. The heat does make some people crazy.
It's making you crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the heat. I want the heat.
I've been waiting for the house.
Oh no, when it's in the house and it's just the fans on and the windows are open, hell yes. Give me that. Give me that natural air conditioning.
When it's 80-some degrees outside,
it's wonderful. It is wonderful. I don't care what you say.
You enjoy yourself.
I sure as hell am, and you suffer.
I've suffered for years.
You're no longer going to... You can have carbs.
I can. We'll get to that in a minute. Shortly before midnight on Saturday, July 19th, 1952, an air traffic controller, Edward Nugent, in Washington National Airport spotted 7 slow-moving objects on his radar screen far from any known civilian or military flight paths. He called his supervisor and joked about a fleet of flying saucers. At the same time, 2 more air traffic controllers at National spotted a strange bright light hovering in the distance that suddenly zipped away at incredible speed. At nearby Andrews Air Force Base, radar operators were getting the same unidentified blips, slow and clustered at first, then racing away at speeds exceeding 7,000 miles per hour.
Oh, wow.
Looking out his tower window, one Andrews controller saw that what he described as an orange ball of fire trailing a tail.
Loves it.
A commercial pilot cruising over Virginia and Washington, D.C.'s area reported 6 streaking bright lights, quote, like falling stars without tails, end quote.
What?
When radar operators at National watched the objects buzz past the White House and Capitol building, the UFO jokes stopped. 2 F-94 interceptor jets were scrambled, but each time they approached the locations appearing on the radar screens, the mysterious blips would disappear. By dawn of July 20th, the objects were gone. So it makes you wonder, were these, again, interdimensional? I have questioned that all along, and so have others. It's not just my theory on that.
Is a cloaking device really
that could be.
No, I don't think so.
No, it very well could be a cloaking device.
If it's like you go invisible, that's completely different than exiting our dimension.
Right, but it could be either or. It doesn't always have to be just one or the other.
I think it's cloaking devices.
I don't know. Some of the other ones in other sightings, they were not there, then they were there, and so I don't know. I mean, this is technology that's certainly beyond anybody's capability, or that they're admitting is beyond their capability.
They got portal devices up there.
Quite possibly.
Give me that aperture science. I want to live my life like in Portal 2. I want one of those portal guns that I can just shoot something at like 50 feet away and just hop in another portal right there at my feet and fling myself.
Yes, but what if somebody did that in your stuff, in your space? That would not be cool.
I could do it back to them.
It would not be cool.
I could do it back to them.
Nobody bothered to tell Ruppelt, the Air Force's lead Project Blue Book investigator, about the sightings. Now, the main dude, and they're not telling him. He found out a few days later when he flew into Washington, D.C. and read news reports. And I talk about being out of the loop there. Mm-hmm. And Ruppelt tried to get out to National and Andrews to interview radar operators and air traffic controllers, but was denied a government-issued car or even cab fare. Frustrated, he flew back to Ohio with nothing. I mean, they wouldn't even give him clearance on that. That's some strange shit right there.
That proves that they're...
We know your schemes, bitch.
The very next Saturday, the UFOs were back over the nation's capital. Again, Ruppelt found out through a phone call from a reporter and immediately called on 2 Air Force colleagues to check out the situation at National. The same radar blips were back, and radar operators wondered out loud if the dozens or so objects on their screens couldn't be caused by a temperature inversion, a common phenomenon in DC's hot, muggy summer months. A temperature inversion occurs when a layer of warm air forms in the low atmosphere, trapping cooler air beneath. Radar signals can bounce off this layer at shallow angles and mistakenly show near-ground objects as appearing in the sky. Ruppelt's Air Force colleagues, however, were convinced that the objects on the radar screens weren't mirages but solid aircraft. To be safe, 2 more F-94 jets were scrambled to chase down the unidentified targets appearing on radar screens at both National and Andrews. Jets would race to a location targeted by the radar, only for the blips to vanish. Finally, one of the jet pilots caught sight of a bright light in the distance and gave chase. The pilot later told reporters, quote, "I tried to make contact with the bogies below 1,000 feet. I saw several bright lights. I was at maximum speed, but even then I had no closing speed. I ceased chasing them because I saw no chance of overtaking them," end quote. I don't know how fast a jet went during that time. I don't know how fast one goes now, but I'd say it was considerable. But some of these other people, when they're saying that these craft can travel at thousands of miles per hour, yeah, we don't have anything like that.
No.
So the next day, newspaper headlines across America screamed, "Saucers swarm over Capitol," and "Jets chase D.C. sky ghost." The publicity and public panic over the sightings were so great that President Harry Truman himself asked aides to get answers. When they called Ruppelt, he said it could have been caused by a temperature inversion. But more investigation was needed to fully explain both the radar images and credible eyewitness accounts. It sounds like they got to him.
Yeah, we got an alien writhing around in the hallway right now.
I try to ignore that. But before such an in-depth investigation could take place, the Air Force called a press conference, the longest such news event since World War II. The Air Force brass had decided, without consulting Ruppelt or the Project Blue Book team, that the best response to the sightings was to feed the press and public an easy-to-swallow explanation. In other words, propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
It's not new.
We know your schemes, bitches.
Yes.
We know that.
But
we know them.
But there are still people that believe the bullshit.
Yeah, they're idiots.
Well, yeah, that's pretty straightforward there. Dodging specific questions about what pilots and radar operators had seen in the skies over the Capitol, Major General John Samford came back again and again to the temperature inversion theory. Ruppelt had since come to the opposite conclusion. Quote, "The investigators had ruled out the inversion," says Alejandro Rojas, editor of the UFO news site Open Minds. Quote, "They had examined that situation. The radar operator said inversions happen. We know what inversions look like. This is not an inversion. This is not the same thing at all," end quote. And it's like the people that do this stuff all the time, you've always got other ones that they think they know better.
Yeah.
Even though they've never sat there and looked at anything.
Well, that's the peanut gallery.
Well, yeah. The Ruppels, two Ruppels, I have called him anything and everything during this. I'm sorry.
Ruble!
Disappointments.
Rubles! Think of the Russian currency. Rubles!
No, it's Ruppels. Pelts. Rupp pelts. Disappointment.
Repel.
Whatever. The Air Force's press conference worked exactly as planned. The papers reported the temperature inversion story, and the public largely seemed to accept it. In his 1956 book, The Report on Unidentified Flying Objects, Ruppelt reports that after the press conference, UFO sightings dropped from 50 a day to 10. Skeptics weren't satisfied with the pat government response. Many accused Air Force and Project Blue Book investigators of devious behavior and secret knowledge. It wasn't until Project Blue Book documents were made public in 1985 that UFO sleuths could see the closest thing to a government cover-up to UFO sightings in the nation's capital was actually a conspiracy of ignorance. Bullshit. Flat out bullshit.
If you think we are going to believe, we know your schemes. We see through you like a three-way mirror. Glass. We see your ass full view.
That's true. And Nick Pope.
Put that shit away. Nobody needs to see the full moon in broad daylight.
Nick Pope, a UFO journalist who used to run UFO investigations unit for the British Ministry of Defense, says, quote, "The Washington UFO flap perfectly illustrates the real government cover-up. It's not a situation where the authorities conspired to keep some terrible truth about UFOs from the people, but rather the government doing its best to keep people from realizing that they didn't have all the answers," end quote. And I understand that it was.
Just so you don't know.
Well, it was just, yeah. I mean, and that's there is no sin in being ignorant of something, but as far as to try to maintain the illusion that someone is omnipotent, which the government very much thinks it is God.
Just simply be like, yeah, we don't know what this is.
So
we're looking into it, but at the moment, we honestly don't know what this is.
But by the same right, I can't understand because they were concerned that people would think that it was either Germany doing something, even though that was post-World War II, or that Russia was doing something, or anyone else. They have always blamed other people when it's been our government.
Yeah.
And so the American people have been deceived for generations.
Yeah.
Which is tragic.
Mm-hmm. It is tragic.
So it's not just the aliens that are being covered up.
We know we're in the Matrix.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like, red pill or blue pill, or there's a lot of us that really fight daily to try to avoid the black pill. Yeah.
Why not take all three?
Well, I don't think that you can.
Hope.
I don't.
Yeah,
think
there's
that
no hope
can.
for that person. There's hope for that person.
Well, that's where you put yourself at the level of God, and we don't have the qualifications
no,
to
you'd
be
still
God.
be below him because he is the higher one, but you'd be like, nah.
Well, there's always people that have. There are people that it's easier to stay in the Matrix.
It's easier for me to be like, meh. Meh.
Now, let's think even with that movie. That was a brilliant movie. The one guy that he was outside of the Matrix, and because it was hard, the reality was hard.
Yeah.
He betrayed the other ones so that he could go back in and live the illusion.
He didn't even have to betray them. All he had to do was run back.
Yeah.
By himself.
Well, I don't know. I think that it was one of those that he had to make that deal that he would betray the other ones before they would allow him back into the illusion.
At that point, I've been like, all right, shoot me.
Well, he didn't have that those ethics. He said that he wanted to be high up on the food chain, that he wanted what he wanted, and everybody else that he hurt be
fucked.
damned. Right. And there's a lot of people like that today. Instead of them wanting to do the work, instead of them fighting the good fight, fighting against the forces of evil, and the Mr. Smiths that can take any, guys that they want.
I would have been one of those people that would have stormed Area 51 if that was successful.
No, that didn't. There weren't as many people that...
Because nobody's actually...
went out to it.
Nobody... People have sense. Some people.
Well...
But the thing is, even that would have got,
I believe that's a distraction technique. I truly do, because there's so many people that focus on that. Now, why would you... It's easy to say, oh, look here,
and
when it's someplace else.
People storming the White House, that's a distraction thing, too.
That place belongs to the people.
Yeah.
These people that are the elected elite, they have very much forgotten that they are supposed to be servants of the people.
Yeah.
And I heard somebody the other day that you've got to remember the founding fathers, they didn't go up there. These people were wealthy, and they gave their time to go up there and serve the public and the country. It was never supposed to be career politicians that people went in there and got wealthy. Never. It was supposed to be a truly public service type thing.
Mm-hmm.
To where people did not clamor to get up there. That's been totally twisted, like lots of other things in our world today.
Yeah.
So we need to go back to that.
I agree.
Public servant. You get... I think that whatever the standard wage is for average employed American, that should be their wage.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you noticed that the prices of stuff have been going up, but the pay rate is literally staying the same?
We knew that was going to happen. Anybody who understands basic economics knows that if every time that they increase the minimum wage, then goods increase. I mean, for whoever, they're like, woohoo, for a month or two, and then the inflation hits.
But the prices went up just now.
Oh, that's been going on for a while, but that is just how economics... Well, that's because they've got all this other stuff as supply chain issues. They've always got an excuse. There's a lot of us that believe that the
just
Great
say that
Reset...
you don't want us to have money.
That's the Great Reset.
Be transparent. Just be transparent.
That's the Great Reset. That's, that's for another cup as far as Klaus Schwab.
We know you're hiding shit from us.
He is Dr. Evil.
Even with we know that y'all are trying to distract us with the alien shit, which is doing a good job.
Well,
but y'all are we know y'all scheme.
What I will do...
We know that you're not helping us. We know that you're trying to hurt us.
What I will do on the next cup is I will go back in Michael Heiser's book and find the quote that he used, that there is a playbook. No shit. People think that that's, hyperbole, and it's not. It is real. And that I will read that quote out of it and to see where we are in the playbook. And it's close to the end.
Yeah.
Yuri Bezmenov warned people for years.
Mm-hmm.
But do I believe that as far as Project Bluebeam is coming? Absolutely. Now, it's like I really did think that it was going to happen a year or so ago. But because these other distractions are not currently working the way that they hoped that they would, that one's next on the agenda. Yeah. So, anyhow, you got anything to add about aliens?
I already said everything that needed to be said. Do you really want me to hear that?
No.
We know your scheme bitch thing all over again? I'll bring the microphone up to me.
Yeah. And I will say, as far as... This is the first video since I had the tooth extraction. That's the reason we did a couple that the Wayback Machine or whatever.
The revisits.
Because, I knew it was going to take a few days before I could talk. I'm still, a little bit of swelling and all that.
But she can actually talk and she can eat.
She can have carbs again.
That has to do with the diabetes. It's like... For years and years, I avoided the carbs.
She can have a hot doge.
I avoided the carbs.
Hamburger.
And so
within reason.
From type 2 to type 1 now, I have to have the carbs or I bottom out. So it's one of those, it's weird. My world has just sort of reversed. And it's like, and God said, let you eat carbs.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But prayers are appreciated. For those of you who prayed, that was appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've had experiences with paranormal, supernatural encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, if you've had anything to add with these government cover-ups, if you've got local, regional, family myths or legends, send us an email to cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. And, of course, the link will be in the description box to the article. And the email address is down there also, so you don't have to try to worry about, remembering all that stuff. Know that you're loved and appreciated.
Mm-hmm. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe and click that notification button for daily notifications of our daily uploads. Thank you all. Have a good and eat a lovely Dolly Parton banana pudding cake. Go get yourself that cake.
That stuff is absolutely the bomb. Kid made
so
one of
good.
those, and it is phenomenal.
Get it while it's here. Seriously, I think that shit's limited edition, but everybody wants it.
It's good. It is amazing.
Dolly Parton needs to release her own line of cooking stuff.
That would be good.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Dolly Parton, please, can you adopt us? I love you. I've adored you since I was little. Please adopt me.
That's true. That is true. She seems like she's a very good businesswoman and seems like a good human being.
Mm-hmm.
Have nothing bad to say about her.
Eat a lovely cake.
You all have a beautiful, blessed day, and we'll see you on the next cup.
Bye.
Bye.
Watch this, guys.